Oh my goodness, it's Bonnie.
Hello,
Hey, so good to see you.
I made it.
Oh, I just meant you usually are
Hey.
not on video.
I'm using my wax thing because I have Raynaud's, so my hands are freezing. So I was like, well, I can't touch the screen while I'm covered in wax. So everything's turned on right now.
Okay. It being 6 o'clock on Wednesday, December 16th, I call to order this meeting of the Brockton Conservation Commission. I would like to remind everyone that due to the pandemic, we are meeting over Zoom. And every members of the public can participate in the discussion by, let's see, raising their hands. And at this point in time, let's see. Weird. So do I have to say anything else? I think that's it, right?
Just roll call for quorum.
Oh, if you're calling in and you're not, you are, if you're calling in and you're not joining the meeting by way of your computer, you can press the pound key and that will let us know that you want to speak and we'll let you speak. Okay, the first item on the agenda is a request for determination of applicability for 8836 Belmont Street. And Scott, you're here for that meeting?
John and Judy could be there too. So.
You have me, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Good. All right. All right. So that'll have to be good enough. I'll talk and not be seen. Oh, here we go. Give me a second, please. There we go. Okay. All right. Madam Chair, I did a request for determination before the commission tonight for 63 Belmont Street. It's the site of the old number 1 Chinese.
Okay, someone has something going back on in their background, good. I can't hear it anymore.
Good.
Now, and Scott, if you could speak up a little louder because I was having trouble hearing you as well.
Yep, thank you. I have a request for determination, Madam Chair, for 863 Belmont Street, the site of the old number 1 Chinese restaurant that's been closed for a few years. Folks that have a business just up the street, a couple of lots over, SNE Sunoco, have bought the property and would like to repurpose it as a used car lot. They've been to the ZBA, have received ZBA approval. So as part of our site plan approval process, we decided to come before you folks before we get that ball rolling. So the existing site is has a building in front. The existing building is about 65 by 100, a big parking area behind it, and it goes off kind of in the westerly direction behind and towards the Papagenos. That's our direct abutter. So as part of our repurposing, we have decided to raise a large portion of the building. We're going to tear down the newer section of the building, which as you're standing on Belmont Street is the left-hand side, leave the original building, which is about a 35 by 100 foot building, as opposed to the 65 by 100 that's there now. The paving that's there is going to remain in place. They'll just restripe it. In the area where we're raising the building, that area, they'll have to repave that area, obviously. While we're doing that, we're also installing a drainage infiltration system with a storm scepter, meets stormwater management regulations, where right now there is no stormwater management on the property. So we're making it a lot better as far as that goes. The reason I'm before you tonight is just off the property. just to the edge of the property, on our property, but the very northwest corner of the property, there is a isolated wetland area. We had our botanist Brad Holmes go out there to look at it. It is not a bordering vegetated wetland. There's no inlets or outlets to the closed area. It's basically the last undeveloped parcel of land in this block of streets between Belmont, Line, and Edinburgh, where everybody else is built up and we're kind of left with a hole, essentially. So that's off to the northwest corner. We're not touching that at all. We're not touching the paving in that area. We're about 150 feet away with our paving work to the closest point of that isolated wetland area. We were asked at tech review if we could put up some curbing in that area, not touch the paving, so to speak, but put some curbing in that area just so the water wouldn't sheet flow right into that isolated wetland area. So we have proposed curbing, which will direct the water into the existing catch basin that's there currently. For those two reasons, I guess. For the first reason being that our botanist doesn't feel like it's a protectable resource area. Second reason being that we're really not doing any work. We've proposed siltation protection just to safeguard that area. And because of that, we would ask for a negative determination, Madam Chair.
Okay, Megan, do you want to give us a summary of your report?
Sure. So I went out and conducted a site visit at this property. I did locate the flagging series installed by Brad Holmes. I found 2 isolated vegetated wetland flagging series so that had been put in the field. Isolated vegetated wetland series A is a smaller area in the northeastern corner of the site. So that one is not shown on the submitted site plans, but it was out in the field flagged as series A. That one, just by the sheer size of it, is so small that I don't believe it would be jurisdictional in any way. The second one that we've been referring to, isolated vegetated wetland B, a portion of it begins on the project site and then continues westwards along the rear of the abutting properties all the way up to about Edinburgh Street behind Shaw Road. And so during my site visit, I did note standing water throughout that wetland, going along off property, continuing again behind the abutting properties. And based on that, I took a look at the existing aerial imagery to also take a look at where there looks like there's evidence of additional standing water. And based on that, I estimated an area that if you look at the whole isolated vegetated wetland, beginning from where it starts on the subject property and then going west to where it ends as you approach Edinburgh, the calculation I came up with was about 0.6 acres. So if that were to hold at least 6 inches of standing water at any time, then that would be over a 1/4 acre foot of water that would make it jurisdictional as isolated land subject to flooding. And so when I was out there, I observed water deeper than 6 inches in some areas. So by my observations, I think it's reasonable to assume that that area can hold an average of 6 inches. And so conservatively, I would like to propose that the area be considered isolated land subject to flooding, which is a jurisdictional area. However, it does not have a buffer zone. So any work within 100 feet of that would not be considered regulated in the same way a bordering vegetated wetland would. So going off of that, my review of the rest of the application, my main notes were that I noted that the site plans in the wooded area where the isolated wetlands are located, there was a note of the edge of the existing vegetation to remain based on work needed in that area. So it suggested that maybe some clearing work is proposed. However, based on what's being proposed on the plan, I didn't see what the need for any clearing or cutting of vegetation past the existing pavement would be. So I would recommend amending that note to say that the edge of existing vegetation will remain. If there is going to be removal proposed, it would need to be more specifically shown on the plan so we can make sure none of that cutting crosses into the isolated land subject to flooding. Because although again, there's no buffer zone, the land itself, the resource area itself would be protected. And then my other comment was that the site plans show 2 existing catch basins towards the rear of the property, the existing pavement. It wasn't clear to me what those catch basins currently connect to. Do they outfall to the wooded area and to the resource area? And if that's the case, then that should be shown on the plan, just because we are talking about a conversion to an auto sales facility. So we would expect increased parking of cars, increased traffic of cars. And so if those catch basins are outfalling directly to the wooded area and directly to the isolated land subject to flooding, we might want to see, you know, some improvements made to that catch basin or a redirection of those catch basins to show that water quality will not change going out of the site. And so
Those are leach and catch basins.
if those points I just mentioned could be addressed, then that would show that the proposed work will not impact the isolated land subject to flooding. And then at that point, I think the commission could consider issuing the -4 determination that the work is not going to, as proposed, is not going to impact any resource areas or buffer zones. Again, in this case, there is no buffer zone, so it would be just demonstrating that the isolated land subject to flooding will not be impacted.
Okay. Do you have any comments in response?
Just the only one, the catch basin is a leaching catch basin. So there's no inlet or outlet to it. So it's going to remain as a leaching catch basin.
Okay, and this is a request for determination of applicability.
Yes.
I guess what I would like to see is plans that are revised, showing in response to the comments made by the agent.
I think the only thing we're just talking about the siltation protection, correct? I don't think there's anything else to,
There was
It
another
would be
notation.
Yes, the siltation barrier, extending that along the northern work limit. And then again, revisiting that note about vegetation removal from the wooded area. Again, I'm not sure the need of it. If it is needed, then that work area needs to be specified to show that it's not going to cross into the resource.
I'll eliminate that note entirely.
Okay, and then I'm looking at the plan, and I was looking at before. And maybe I'm missing this. Where is the erosion control? And Scott, do you have the plan up on a screen? Because I can share my screen.
I don't, Madam Chair. I'm sorry.
All right, well, I'm going to share my
It's on-
screen.
It's on sheet C4, which is the grading and drainage plan.
Okay, all right, I'm
It's around
looking
there.
on the plan itself.
Yeah. It kind of just encompasses
Wait a
that.
minute, wait a minute. No, that's C4. Okay, I'm going to share my screen so you can show us exactly where.
Thank you.
And I believe
Yep.
that you, if you click on, there's a way you can actually annotate or kind of,
Oh.
or you can direct me where,
I think
where,
that's me moving the mouse. I think, yeah. Oh,
I don't think so.
I just see it on my screen, sorry. I was getting-
Oh, you were looking at your mouse.
Yeah. So
Yes.
if, where you're, right there where your hand
Oh,
is,
there it is. Okay.
right
Proposed- Oh, so this is it. That was,
Exactly.
right. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Okay,
So we'll extend that, I guess really along that whole northern edge of pavement.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly, all the way over.
yeah. And then, of course, before the board issues a determination, I'd like to see the plans revised. Bonnie, do you have any comments, questions?
Only given its distance from I know it's not technically a wetlands, but it holds water, and this is going to be a lot that holds cars. Is there anything, what gets done to deal with oil and gasoline? And I'm assuming that there's going to be a garage on site, because usually there's a garage.
Yeah, there's no garage. It's just a lot to sell cars. I
Okay,
guess
so there aren't any repairs. They're not going to be doing any
Exactly.
repairs on the cars there. Okay.
None at all, and that was stipulated in the Board of Appeals decision that there's no repair, no inside storage of vehicles at all.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that answers that question.
Okay,
Is this a class 2? These are used vehicles?
yes.
Okay. Okay. So seeing no further questions, do you want to continue to the next meeting? And,
Please, Madam Chair, yes.
okay, and Pam, I don't have a January calendar in front of me yet.
It's the 20th. That's the third When?
Okay,
January.
so do I have a motion to continue to January 20th?
I make a motion to continue to January 20th.
I will second that. Danielson in favor?
Sparks, aye.
Motion passes. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a request for certificate of compliance for 68 12th Avenue.
Yes. Madam Chair, Scott Farrier, Holmgren Engineering, for Frankie August. And we've been before you guys, I think this is the third time, looking for a certificate of compliance. If you remember, everything looked good except for the placement of a shed on the property that fell within the yard area, but wasn't shown on the approved plans and actually fell within the 25-foot buffer zone. So at our last meeting, unfortunately, Mr. August hurt his back trying to move the shed, so only moved the shed like 5 feet. So we had to continue it. Since then, his back is healed, and he's now moved the shed to kind of the front yard, and it's greater than 50 feet from the wetlands, which was, I believe, the only issue we had remaining.
Okay, and that's what we see on this plan dated the 24th of November.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Megan?
Yes, so the only two outstanding issues were moving the shed outside of the 50-foot buffer zone so that it could be considered a minor project. And then also installing the limit of work markers. So those two issues have been addressed. So at this point, I could recommend issuing the complete certificate of compliance, holding or adding in the continuing conditions from the order of conditions.
Any questions or comments, Bonnie? I have none.
I have none either.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'm sorry, what is,
Do I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance with all the ongoing conditions outlined in the order of conditions?
so I make a motion to order a certificate of compliance along, containing the
All the ongoing conditions.
the
outlined
ongoing
in
conditions
The order of conditions,
noted in the order of conditions.
yes.
Oh, sorry.
I second that. Danielson in favor?
Sparks, aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you, folks.
Okay, and the next item on the agenda is a request for certificate of compliance for 1020 Chestnut Street.
Madam Chair, on that one there, you may recall, again, this is probably our third time on this one as well.
Mhm.
At our last meeting, we went over what our proposal was to take care of the few issues that we had originally. They've done a couple of those items. They need to install some drainage to drain the low points of the property. The drainage items that they're ordering are on back order at this point. So we're just waiting for them to be delivered to the site, and then they'll install it, and hopefully then we'll be good to go. So I would have to ask for a continuance to your January meeting at this point and hope the weather goes easy on us and they can get that work done between now and then.
Okay,
They did put up new siltation protection, which was one of the issues. So there is new siltation protection. There's nothing, there's no disturbed areas, no chances of erosion, during these next couple of storms that we're expected to have. So I think the site itself, I think, is stabilized. We just need to get those issues resolved.
okay. Megan,
Yes, I did confirm that the erosion controls have been reinstalled along the existing Cape Cod berm. I would agree the site is stable. It is already paved and the berm is up. So it's just a matter of cutting back into the pavement to install the new drainage, but the site should be stable until then.
okay, so you're asking to continue to January 20th.
Yes.
Do I have a motion to continue to January 20th?
I make a motion to continue to January 20th.
I second the motion. Danielson, aye.
Sparks, aye.
Motion passes. You are monopolizing the agenda tonight, Scott, but
At least the beginning of
it
it.
makes things move along faster. A request for the certificate of compliance for 196 Manley Street.
All right, Madam Chair. Well, I'm sure we remember this site as well. We have a couple of issues, I guess, to talk about that I'd like to get the commission's feelings on. My client would really like to leave the stone in on the side of the building.
Obviously, that's why you put it there.
Yes,
Mhm.
thank you. So it helps the building maintenance as far as grass, and it just makes it easier. Forgetting all that, he would like to keep it. What we'd like to do, if possible, is file for an amended order of conditions and kind of make our case for leaving it the way it is now, feeling that we meet DEP's guidelines on an amendment, where the purpose of the project hasn't changed. There's no impact to the protectable resource area with the stone as opposed to the grass. My client would like to at least be able to make that case before the commission.
I think the client had the opportunity to make the case and the commission voted. I would not be in favor. I'll let Bonnie speak her mind.
I feel like I drive by it often. And it is currently what looks like pea stone, if I'm correct. And so it's still permeable to water, which negates a lot of the issue of paving. And so if there's a way to basically set a guarantee that it can never under any conditions ever be paved, I feel like the main concern is the water and the flooding. And so, like I said, if we can keep it gravel or pea stone and never under any circumstances have that paved or cemented or made impermeable in any way, I think for me, that would make it acceptable. I mean, obviously aesthetics have, that's not my job here, but I wouldn't want that to be paved or gravel, but
in addition to that, it was discussed in Megan's report that we should do some buffer zone enhancement for the brush that was cut back. So we would certainly have Brad Holmes come up with a buffer zone enhancement plan all along that strip.
What
to kind
buffer zone is left?
Well, there's about a 10 or a 15-foot buffer zone there right now, maybe 10 feet. The resource area that we're protecting it's a drainage ditch. That whole area Jonathan Drive is the industrial park to the north of our site. All of their drainage is captured in catch basins and manholes, goes along our back property line, and then takes a 90-degree turn and heading to Manley Street. And then it daylights into that drainage ditch and runs along West Chestnut Street. So it's not, it's not a pristine wetland, so to speak. It's a drainage ditch that had, the vegetation associated with that. But, I mean, there is, there is 10 to 15 feet of buffer zone between the gravel and the edge of the ditch, the top of the
Yeah.
bank. So
So,
Opportunity to-
again, we're not deciding this tonight. You asked what the sentiment was.
Right.
You got a clear mix. And I would say there's nothing other than the enforcement order. And if the commission wanted to take additional action on the enforcement order, preventing you from coming forward with a request for an amended order, which would require re-notification. I can tell you, I will not vote in favor. I feel very strongly that when an order of conditions is issued, the applicant has an opportunity to appeal. He did not, and he went ahead and he deliberately did what he wanted to do.
Mhm.
So, again,
That's what we're left with, Madam Chair, because as you know, we need permission from you folks to go ahead and file for the amendment, to advertise it, to notify. the abutters.
you don't need permission from the board to file an amendment. What generally, I think you might be confusing is when someone wants to make a modification, the board votes to determine whether it's significant enough to warrant an amended order.
Yep.
So I guess that's the vote that we should take. And if, when that's presented, I guess if that's what you're looking for, is a vote as to whether this warrants an amended order, we could make that vote. We could take that vote tonight.
I guess my question is, and I'm sure I'm reading it wrong. My question is, if we were gonna.
I will stand corrected if Megan tells me I'm wrong, but I've been doing this for a while and I don't think
Something
you
needs
have
to
to,
happen to advertise it.
I'm
go-
sorry,
Something needs to happen for it for a legal ad to be placed.
you need to submit an amended order. We're not
Exactly.
voting on any amendment tonight.
Right. I thought I needed your permission to actually
No,
request.
you just need the board to determine that in fact, this warrants an amended order.
Thank you.
And-
Or
and-
that you need them, but he's not asking you if the change is
Right.
minor enough. He's not asking for that.
Well, in essence, he is, and my, it certainly would warrant an amended order. If the commission thought this was acceptable as, under the enforcement order, it would still, and again, Megan, you can correct me if you feel otherwise, but I feel it absolutely needs an amended order. It's not what was approved. It's not what was on the final plan.
Right, yes, so an applicant can go ahead and start preparing for an amended order. Really, it's the commission's discretion, again, whether they think it can be accepted as a minor change, accepted as an amended order, or if it requires a new notice of intent. So the applicant can present it however they want. They can present it as a minor change. They can go ahead and notify abutters and put in the request for an amendment. And then the commission can review it as an amendment. And then there's always the option that the commission can say, yes, this is acceptable as an amendment, or this requires a new notice of intent. So the applicant can file it however they want. That the commission has the discretion to determine if that's the appropriate level of approach.
Okay, so I think you have the information you need.
I do, thank you. So I think no matter which way we go, Madam Chair, I guess I need to continue our request for certificate of compliance.
Or you could withdraw it for the time being. But yes, at a minimum, you need to submit a written request for the board to continue that.
I don't think withdrawing it would,
Withdrawing it will take care of it, but you.
would take
withdrawing it-
care of,
Well, to remove it from the agenda, so that,
Right, right. So you
Then
don't have to keep requesting a continuance.
then we can just reapply. There's no
Right.
Correct.
prejudice that way.
Or the board could take we could actually take a vote and vote to deny it.
Either way, I've got to reapply. Basically.
Correct.
I would ask then if I could withdraw my request for a certificate of compliance, Madam Chair.
Do I have a motion to allow a withdrawal of the request for certificate of compliance?
I make a motion to allow for the withdrawal of the request of the certificate of compliance.
I second it. All in favor, Danielson, aye.
Sparks, aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much for your time, folks. Happy
You're
holiday.
welcome. Have a good evening and
Yes.
yes, have a happy holiday.
Thank you.
Stay
Stay
safe.
safe. Thank you. You as well.
The next item on the agenda is 955 Belmont Street. And who do we have with the, Emma, you know who everybody is.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Danielle Dufault from Adler, Pollock and Sheehan on behalf of the applicant, Colbia Enterprises LLC. If you remember, this is continued from the commission's November hearing on Colbia's application in connection with its property located at 955 Belmont Street. And there was a few open items that the commission had requested that linked to beta peer review of our notice of intent. There was a few items that were left open. We have addressed those items, submitted the same to Beta, and Beta submitted its recommendation to Agent Chavez, who I believe submitted a revised report to the commission with her recommendations, which incorporated the special conditions requested by Beta and special conditions requested by Agent Chavez, all of which the applicant, Colbia Enterprises, agrees to and understands. I'd also like to point out to the commission, and I'm sure you're aware of, as we discussed at the last hearing, it was Colbia's intent, based on the commission's suggestion, to incorporate more native species of shrubs and trees in the landscape design, which we have done. Several different types of trees and several different types of shrub species, that is a mouthful, into the landscape design to just enhance the aesthetic of the property and to be more acceptable to the commission, and we're very pleased with how it's going to look. So with that, I know Agent Chavez is a report, and any questions the commission may have, we'd be happy to answer them. Tonight with us, I would just like to also point out from Colbia Enterprises, we have Eric Simpson, our environmental engineer.
That's who has his hand up.
Oh,
It
yeah,
looks like
that's
Mr.
Eric
Maddox.
Simpson, and I believe Agent Chavez, I believe Michael Gazdaco, our director of construction, is also on. Thank you. Perfect. Hi, Eric. And I apologize, I should have introduced them first, but so if there's any questions that the commission has for Mr. Simpson or Mr. Gazdaco or myself, we'd be happy to answer them.
Again, would you like to give a summary of your report, please?
Yes, so I can confirm, having reviewed Beta Group's latest report, that all of their stormwater comments have been addressed. They have just recommended some additional special conditions that I've included in my report to recommend that they be included in the order of conditions. Also, my recommended special conditions that were in my December 10th report, I've also carried over that I'm recommending be included in the order of conditions. So at
Oh,
point, I believe the commission can issue that order of conditions with our standard special conditions plus beta groups and my comments, recommendations that are outlined in my report.
I'm sorry, there's like 8 police cruisers in front of my house. It's like,
Well,
Levi's birthday.
Is Frank all right?
yeah, yep, okay. I got an explanation. Wow, that was frightening.
I don't have any questions, Bonnie. Do you have any questions or comments?
Oh, is that Stephanie speaking? I can barely hear you.
No, you can't hear her.
Really?
Yeah.
Is this new or did it just start?
No,
Here we
it-
go.
now you're back.
now you're
Yeah.
back.
You were like whisper quiet for a moment there.
Yeah.
No,
I was not whispering.
my only question is actually a matter of my technology failing me. If anyone's got the new updated layout of the plan, if that could be screen shared, because I've been struggling with it. I can't get in to look at it right now.
So would you like the landscaping plan? I have either just that sheet from the revised plan set. I could put that up.
Yeah, that's good. Because that's really all that got changed as far as it sounds like,
Yeah.
correct?
So let me.
I'm sorry about that. Like I said, that's a tech problem.
Yeah, no worries. Now, now I'm going to be challenged here.
I have it up.
Do you have, I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
didn't
nope,
have
that's
it up.
fine.
I apologize. Thank you, Madam Chair. So, and I can
Thank you.
actually read the list to you. So besides an addition of several native shrub species, we've incorporated the crimson queen maple, which replaced the choke cherry trees. We've incorporated October glory red maples, which replaced the previous just non-cultivar red maples. We've incorporated Fraser Fitz, which replaced the balsam firs. Incorporated green giant arborvitae, which replaced the American yew. And we have incorporated river birch, which replaced, we've replaced with the river birch replaced with gray birch. And then the
You mentioned crimson red maple?
crimson queen maple.
Right, right, sorry. I do not see it on the list and I don't believe that is a true native.
So let's see.
I don't see it on the list, so
Yeah, I don't
if
see it
it's not on the list, it's
either.
not a problem.
So on the
I
tree,
think it was
is there
replaced
is
with the
there
red
a
maple.
tree list? Let me see where we have.
The choke cherries were replaced? Aren't choke cherries a native?
Maybe I have, oh, so the crimson queen maple was replaced with the choke cherry.
Okay.
I
There we
have
go,
that in
yeah.
reverse. My apologies.
That sounded like it was, yes.
Thank you for, yes, correct. So
Okay.
right, so the choke cherries.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the
Yeah.
list and
Yeah, so
that,
I actually had that, all of that was in reverse. So previously we had, the October glory was replaced
Right.
with the red maple.
yes,
And, now we have the balsam fir instead of the Fraser fir.
yeah.
And-
Yeah, I think the list looks great.
Yeah, it looks really good. It looks really good.
I wish I could take credit for it, but I will take credit for it on behalf of our client.
Okay, Bonnie, was that it?
Yeah, like I said, it was just because I couldn't actually see what we were talking about, and I was sad because I was actually looking forward to this update.
Yes, yeah.
It looks good.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion to close the hearing?
I make a motion to close the hearing.
I second that. Danielson, aye.
Sparks, aye.
Motion passes. Do I have a motion to issue an order of conditions with all the conditions outlined in our agent's report?
I'm writing it down. I make a motion to, oh Lord, I already forgot the first half. Outline,
Issue an order of conditions.
issue an order of conditions with the conditions outlined in the agent's, not referendum, in the agent's report.
I second. Danielson, aye.
Sparks, aye.
Motion passes.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Madam Chair and member of the commission, and Agent Chavez, thank you for your help. And we look forward to putting up a really beautiful site for the city.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is 53 Baker Street. Pam and Megan, do we have someone here for that?
No,
For a continuance.
Yes, I received an email from Azu today requesting a continuance to the January 20th meeting while they work on securing a wetland scientist to propose the restoration plan discussed previously.
Okay. Do I have a motion to continue the hearing to January 20th?
I make a motion to continue 53 Baker Street to January 20th.
I second. Danielson, aye.
Sparks, aye.
Motion passes. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a notice of intent for Whitman Sewer Force Main easement.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, would you introduce yourself and proceed?
Yeah, I'm Alyssa Longo. I work with Environmental Partners. We're the engineer on the project for the town. And also with me is Ziad Carey from Environmental Partners. We presented to the commission last month, and there was just a few outstanding items that Megan had brought to our attention this is for the 20-inch sewer force main replacement, which is owned by the town of Whitman and runs through the city of Brockton. So we put together a response to her comments and concerns, which were mainly about dewatering issues that could come up during construction. And I don't know if Megan wants to touch on her response to our submission.
Yes, I will ask Megan if you would comment, please.
Yes, so I did review the notes on the dewatering plan. And overall, I think it's a pretty standard dewatering plan that would be sufficient for removing groundwater or floodwater from the active portion of the trench. So that seems pretty standard and suitable. My remaining concern, again, would just be about flooded conditions throughout the previously disturbed portions of the easement. So as the work moves on and areas of the open trench are backfilled, there are not going to be immediately vegetated and stabilized. So my concern was more about flooding under those conditions. So given that concern, I've recommended some additional erosion sedimentation controls that can be incorporated as special conditions that I've recommended. So things like supplementing the erosion control barrier with silt fence along the resource areas to help contain some of that rising water that might swamp the silt sock. And then also mulching areas after seeding to provide some additional ground stabilization to areas, especially after if the swamp mats are to be removed or areas that haven't been swamp matted. An application of clean seed and weed-free straw mulch just to help both with stabilization of the disturbed soils and hopefully to help stimulate the revegetation. So those would be my recommendations in regards to site stabilization throughout the easement.
Okay. I have no additional questions. Bonnie?
I have no questions.
Okay. And Megan, I do have a question for Megan. Is it your recommendation that those simply be included, regarding the erosion controls, be included in the order of conditions, or should we see those
Yes.
on a plan?
So I've proposed a draft order of conditions that includes everything mentioned in my report as special conditions. I believe one of the conditions within that special conditions is that prior to the start of work, we receive the construction phase plan set, and that I'd like to see notes or details that reflect those various special conditions that I'm recommending. So I've proposed it as a special condition that we get the construction plan set that reflects those details.
Mhm.
Now I've suggested a draft order of conditions that contains all of the special conditions that I think are needed to ensure compliance with the performance standard for a limited project, which is what is being pursued here.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just looking at those now. I missed it in the folder. I was looking at things earlier.
Yeah, so it's attached to the end of my report is a draft of the order of conditions.
Yeah, I see it now. All right, Bonnie, do I have a motion?
And so this is to issue the NOI, is that?
An order of conditions?
So, but what is it that I'm actually, what are we issuing or?
Making a motion to issue an order of conditions as reflected in the draft conditions that Megan outlined, Megan referenced, and which includes the recommendations for additional erosion control and site stabilization.
Are we closing the hearing?
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. So let's start with the easy thing. Do I have a motion to close the hearing?
I make a motion to close the hearing.
I second that. Danielson, aye.
Sparks, aye.
Okay, and do we have a motion to issue an order of conditions with the recommendations, the additional conditions recommended by our agent?
So I make a motion to issue an order of conditions with the recommended conditions outlined by our agent, including erosion control and site stabilization.
I second, and I vote in favor.
Sparks, aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you
night.
very much. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Stay safe.
You too.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a notice of intent for electric easement at 70 Battle Street. And this is a new application, correct?
Yes,
So did we receive proof of mailing?
yes.
Okay. I just need to get back to where I was. Okay, Mr. Bolduc, would you unmute yourself?
Go. Good evening.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Jim Bolduc. I'm here this evening on behalf of National Grid for the proposed pole installations in back of the Ames Street substation. what National Grid is proposing to do is to come out the back of the Ames Street substation with matting going across to approximately, I guess it's like around 500 feet with matting to get to 2 locations to install 2 new poles. They're feeder poles so they can monitor the electricity going in and out of the substation. The mats will temporarily impact approximately 9,000 square feet. The only permanent impacts are the circumference of the poles that are going in. So Megan and I have been going back and forth on a few items. So Megan, would you like to talk about it?
Sure. So in my original report, one of the concerns I brought up was that the 9,000 square feet of temporary impact was going to trigger the 401 water certification, and that was something Mass DEP brought up in their comments. So since then, I've received a copy of an administrative consent order that's been issued by Mass DEP to National Grid and associated electric companies doing business under National Grid, that as a way to streamline the process when construction matting, temporary construction matting is used, it's used an administrative consent order to allow that matting to be used without a separate 401 water certification, provided that a series of requirements within the administrative consent order are followed in regards to putting down that matting. And so based on that, then I've drafted an order of conditions with special conditions that should be complementary to the requirements within the administrative consent order. So basically, vegetation monitoring following the removal of the construction mats to determine whether subsequent restoration is needed following the use of those mats, and if so, putting in place a schedule for monitoring and requirements that the commission receive updates, and then if needed, a supplementary restoration plan if the matting does result in impacts to the vegetation that doesn't rebound within 30 days of the removal of the mats, at least during the growing season. And so based on that, it should be hand in hand with what is already required by Mass DEP when using construction matting. In terms of the poles themselves, they shouldn't be requiring any significant impacts, but again, as the order of conditions is presented, the wetland scientist that's recommended to be employed would be overseeing any potential impacts. In terms of any other additional special conditions, I've included one that because matting is the only method of access being proposed, I recommend including a special condition that no vegetation shall be cut or removed to access the pole sites. So it's being proposed that the matting should be sufficient to access the locations. So this order of conditions will assume that if under field conditions, it's determined that the construction matting is insufficient for that access and more, if any work on the vegetation is required, then the applicant needs to request an amended order of conditions with an actual vegetation management plan. But
We actually have a vegetation management plan in place. National Grid does, because they do cyclic cuttings in the right of way. So that's already in place, and I can send that to you if you'd like to see it. Also, under the administrative consent order, we're required to do post-construction monitoring out there on a quarterly basis until at least 75% of the vegetation has been rebounded. So
right, yes. So the proposed
So-
special conditions are basically just to ensure that the commission gets that same sort of information that I think.
I think, Megan, if I may, I think what you're saying is, I mean, the management plan that you're talking about, Mr. Bolduc, is to keep the transmission lines open and free of vegetative hazard. And
Yes,
what
ma'am.
Megan's saying here is that the order of conditions basically states no vegetation shall be cut or removed if it needs to be done because the matting isn't sufficient to provide access, then you need to come back to us to let us know what needs to be cut specifically for this project.
Yes, okay,
which is
understood.
Okay,
Yeah.
Great. And then I want to note too that Megan is also recommending, and I am fully in support of, a continuing condition that no herbicides or pesticides are to be used at this site.
Agreed.
So, Bonnie, do you have any questions or comments?
No, that was very well covered. I have no further questions.
Okay, do I have a motion to close the hearing?
I make a motion to close the hearing.
I second. Danielson in favor?
Sparks, aye.
Motion passes. And do I have a motion to issue an order of conditions as outlined in the draft conditions provided by our agent?
I make a motion to issue an order of conditions with the recommended draft conditions outlined by our agent.
I second. Danielson in favor?
Sparks, aye.
Motion passes.
Great. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Have a great holiday.
You too. The next item on the agenda is under other business, and it's a request for minor plan change Westwood Avenue. Megan, do you want to give us some background on that?
Yes, so we do have the owner, Victor Rosario, here. So this is, it was originally called Lot 3 on Westwood Ave. It's located at the corner of Westwood Ave and Briarcliff Road. It received an order of conditions, I believe in June 2019. And so we've received a revised plan that is proposing a smaller house than what was shown on the approved plan set. So I've compared the two plans, and the only change is that the house size has been reduced by about 1,500 feet. And so as a result is now located farther from the limit of work. As a result of that reduction in size, everything else about the plan remains the same. It's still slab on grade. The limit of work remains the same. The limit of grading remains the same. So in my opinion, I think this could be considered as a minor change because none of the language of the order of conditions would have to change in order to accept this plan as the plan of record. And again, I believe it could be accepted as a minor change because the only change is making the house smaller, which would be less impervious surface and less impact to the buffer zone that has been already approved.
Okay. Megan, you said this was approved in June of 2019.
It
Okay.
might have,
I
yeah.
mean, I'm trying to think the time frame.
It was under the previous commission, so
That's what I thought.
here
Okay.
were on the commission at the time.
Okay, right. So, but it just sounded familiar. I don't have any questions. Bonnie?
I have no questions either.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we accept this as a minor change.
Sparks, I second.
Danielson in favor?
Sparks, aye.
Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is 1014 Pearl Street. And this is enforcement correspondence, which I was a little confused.
Your sound just went away, Stephanie.
Oh, I think I stopped talking.
There we go. Okay, it's back
Yeah.
again.
The sound does go away when I stop talking. I
Shocking.
turn- So Megan, I was just a little confused because the letter from JK Holmgren was asking for consideration of a modification.
Yes, so this was initially an enforcement visit due to observations of a bobcat doing work. And so when I visited the site, I confirmed with the owner that she was working on installing a retaining wall for a doggy potty area towards the front of the existing parking lot. So I advised her that this was a change to her order of conditions. And so she should consult with her engineer on going forward with proposing some sort of amendment. So at this time, I believe Scott's presented or has put the proposed potty areas on a plan, and the intention is to go forward with requesting the amended order of conditions and going through with the abutter notification and all of that. I believe at this time they hadn't gone ahead and done that, one, because of there wasn't sufficient time to notify abutters before this meeting, and also as we discussed previously, I'm gauging whether the commission considers an amended order the appropriate avenue for addressing these proposed changes, which would be, I believe, the addition of 2 potty areas within the 100-foot buffer zone, and then a change to the fence, I believe.
And where is this, is this outside of the riverfront area?
It's outside of the 25-foot, but within the 100-foot buffer zone to the bank.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so you kind of brought up the question I had, which was, why is this not a new notice of intent instead of an amended order? What are your thoughts on that?
I think at minimum, it needs to be an amended order because it's proposing new work within the 100-foot that could be considered of greater impact than what's already there. The question of whether it's an amended order of conditions or requires a new notice of intent is often a question of scope and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
If it's believed that adding these potty areas changes the scope of the work, then a new notice of intent should be filed. And I think the concern comes up then of the purpose of these potty areas, and is that consistent with the overall project that's already been approved, which
Right.
was for the enlarged parking area towards the north, and then the enlarged building addition in the back.
May, is her order still valid?
I believe so. They did get an extension. I mean, technically anything, it didn't expire before we went into the state of emergency. So technically anything that was valid as of March 10th is still valid and is going to be valid for the foreseeable future. I'd have to double check to see how long the last extension was for, if it was going, if it would have expired or was about to. But technically right now, everything that was valid is still valid and will continue
That
to be.
area is all been covered in wood shavings and stuff now. I don't know what it was like when you went by last time.
So if I may, I'm inclined to require a new notice of intent. If this was the intent at the time that they were planning for the expansion, they should have considered it and had it approved as part of that process. It is additional use. I have questions. it's kind of a catch-21. I personally don't care for the idea of having the animals relieve themselves in proximity to the river area. Bonnie, what do you think?
So I absolutely agree. I think that this should come back to us with a new order or whatever the request is. But my additional thing is it necessary to even have it that, that close to the wetlands? And is this going to be like a place where there's actual storage? Like, I know there's things like doggy dooley or whatever those things are, where you're essentially digging a hole
Right.
where you're then putting the waste. And so is this going to be like literal waste storage right next to the wetlands? And that just feels inappropriate. But it also feels like this is, there's building happening beyond what was part of the original plan. And it's not even being done by the builders. It's being done by another party. And so this, to me, just feels like this is not in any kind of order that I feel comfortable working with.
Yeah. And I would agree. I mean, that's another point is that they went ahead and did additional work and that wasn't covered by the order of conditions. It's not like they don't know that they need to submit filings with the Conservation Commission. So, do I have a motion to require a new notice of intent?
I make a motion to require a new notice of intent.
Second. Danielson, aye.
Sparks, aye.
Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is map 10, 164 Pearl Street. This is an enforcement correspondence update.
Yes, so this is the undeveloped parcel off of Pearl Street owned by James Victorine. At the last meeting, it was conveyed that Azu and ET Engineering would be preparing a notice of intent for the proposed single-family house that accompanies the site work that had been going on at the site. So as of the last meeting, it was proposed that that NOI would be submitted November 30th. To date, we have not received that notice of intent filing. The only movement so far is that ET Engineering was out at the site doing test pits for groundwater, and I did witness those. But again, the actual NOI was not submitted within the time frame suggested. So at this point, I think the commission, if they want to add an additional push to make sure that notice of intent is filed, we might want to issue an enforcement order at this time requiring that notice of intent be filed within a certain time frame.
I would agree, Bonnie.
I agree with that as well.
And so they've done test pits. I would say, what would be reasonable? I keep looking for a January calendar that's not on my wall.
The next meeting is the 20th, which is the
So,
Thursday.
and when would they, right, they would have plenty of time. They should have plenty of time to get it in. Pam, what's the filing date for the meeting on the 20th?
I can bring it up. Let me see.
And so they're doing the test pits. Is that going to, like, if they're not completed, if they haven't
They're all
completed
done. Test pits were done that day.
Oh, okay. Because I know it's
They
getting
haven't-
cold and the ground is freezing. So
Oh, no, the test pits were done, what about 3 weeks ago anyway?
It was a couple weeks ago. Yes.
3 weeks ago. It's a lovely pond of water out there.
Okay. Yeah. So the
go for
the
water.
January meeting is December 30th.
Oh, that's, yeah. Okay. Do I have a motion to issue an enforcement order requiring that the notice of intent be filed by December 30th?
I make a motion to request the enforcement order for the notice of intent be filed by December 30th.
I second. Danielson, aye.
Sparks, aye.
Motion passes. And an update on the Hammond Street Cemetery erosion control plan.
Yes, so this is just a follow-up. The amended order of conditions requested that additional erosion controls and a contingency plan be proposed. So since then, we have received an additional plan set showing intra-phase erosion controls in addition to what was already proposed and approved, as well as some additions to the construction phase pollution prevention and erosion control plan that includes additional details on site stabilization and erosion control notes during winter construction as requested. I've reviewed both documents submitted, and I do think there have been significant additions to the erosion control plan that should provide additional protection during the work within each phase. So there are additional erosion control and stabilization measures being proposed within phase 1, which should provide more site stabilization than what was approved previously.
Okay. All right, and we don't, this is just an update informing the commission of the enhanced plan. right?
Correct. The amended order has already been issued. It was a special condition of that amended order that you submit these additional erosion control plans to us.
Right. Okay, next item on the agenda. Well, next
Minutes.
item on the agenda is the acceptance of minutes from the November 18th meeting. I honestly did not get a chance to look at them. Bonnie, I don't know if you did.
I did. I read them all yesterday. It looked fine to me as far as everything seemed to be.
And Joanne had sent me, she had read them and she was fine with them.
Yep, other than the PDF date, which we already all know.
Oop, can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You froze for me.
Oh yeah, I can't see her either. Stephanie has gone away.
I've gone away. Oh, no, I am here.
There you are.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I make a motion to accept the November minutes.
I second. Danielson, aye.
Sparks, aye.
Motion passes. You know, it must be everybody who's doing their last minute shopping online. It's probably reduced the bandwidth. All right, that's it. Do we have anything else to discuss?
I don't
Bonnie, I'm sorry.
Nope, nothing else to discuss.
I did start to respond to your email, which I thought was great. And I do have some comments, but I think really what we need to do now is just figure out how we're going to do it.
Yep, get the
And-
ball actually rolling.
Get the ball rolling. I think at one of the other meetings you folks were privy to Bonnie suggesting that we try to create some kind of promo thing that will entice people. And maybe it's, I don't know, maybe we go out and speak. Remember, that
I
will be
am actually an accomplished public speaker, so if given a direction and an audience, I am happy to present. But I really like the idea of kind of presenting it in an approachable way, as long as we're doing it in a way that's not all just jargon all the time.
Yes, yeah, I think it's great. And I mean, I am a competent presenter, but I really work best even in front of a group of people when I'm asked questions and responding to them. So I like that idea of an interaction and, so we'll, and again, maybe sometime after the holidays, we can just schedule another Zoom meeting with you, me and Joanne to hash that out.
Yeah, absolutely. And start, I guess what you could, I mean, zero pressure here, but if you could start thinking of questions you wish people would ask you, what do you wish people would know? Because I would like to essentially, I'll call it host this sort of interview
Yeah.
where I will shoot the questions and then you will be answering. And so if we can get that sort of ordered, then it's really all done aside from the recording, which we could do virtually
Yeah,
or.
no, I absolutely can do that, so. I think we should ask Megan to join us.
I agree, because I value Megan's input so much. Like every time she speaks, I'm like, thank God she's here.
Well, and I think it also demonstrates that the city has made a commitment through Pam and her years of experience working with the Conservation Commission and the Planning Department and knowing all the different agencies at City Hall. And, you know, Megan's expertise that new commissioners don't have to feel like there's all this incredible pressure on them to learn things in 2 seconds.
Yeah, I feel like I have floaties. You know, I'm in the water. I got my little swimmies on. I'm good. It's all right.
All right. Hey, yes, Pam?
I was going to say you could end the meeting and can,
We're going to end the meeting.
because we're still recording.
Oh. We're all set.
It's done.
Motion to adjourn. We're done. Happy holidays to everyone.
And to you.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Stay safe.